One of the biggest killers for entrepreneurs and new business owners is never putting your hand up and saying, actually, I need help. This is a pretty hard game. People leave their job, they start a business, they've told everyone their big plans. I'm going to do this, I'm going to sell these deals, I'm going to make this money, I'm going to sell this product. Starts coming up against hard times, they start going into a shell, they don't tell anyone. And then they're like, I wonder if I can slip under the radar. Then they lose confidence, low self-esteem, and then they're back in the job. All you needed to do is put your hand up, and in the entrepreneurial space, you can get a lot of help. Just ask me. It takes a bold person to put their hand up and say, I need help. This is tough. Like, I really have big plans, but I've bitten off more than I can chew. Can you help me through this?
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Need to Succeed podcast. You can see I've got a massive smile on my face today because we have a returning guest. Now, this podcast is really designed to talk about, entrepreneurship and the mindset. What is the difference between, two people who've gone through the exact same situation? One says, because of that situation, I'm never going to achieve the things I want to achieve. The other one says, well, now I have to become wildly successful. Same situation, different outcomes. What is the difference between both of them? That's exactly what we look to uncover on this podcast. And today, we have got an absolutely incredible guest. He is Mr. Entrepreneurship himself. If you're thinking about getting the 9 to 5, then you probably should not tune in to this man's channel. But we've had him once before. It was so nice the first time, we had to do it twice. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Aaron Knightley.
I feel like I should be coming through the door. And this should be bigger than what it is. Dude, mate, thanks for having me for a second time. First time round was great. So the second time is going to be juicy.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. First of all, I think I just kind of told you, but I want to give you the flowers on here because the first time we spoke, you spoke about exactly what you wanted to do, how you were going to, attack the space and, you were looking at different platforms and, the ones that was best suited to you and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And bro, honestly, just watching someone execute on a strategy, like it's been incredible to see, bro. It's been amazing. So like just a massive, massive congratulations on that, first of all.
Mate, firstly, thank you. But it's what we're going to get into. It's nothing that no one else can't do. All of everything that I've done, which, to some people may be some form of success. It's not. I'm only small fish. I'm only just starting. But the exciting thing is everyone can do this, which is what we're going to get into, I'm sure, is that this is like an open playing field. There's no discrimination here. Like what I've done is I've just learned, I learn, I implement. I learn, I implement. Rinse, repeat. That's it.
100%. And that's very, 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 very evident. But bro, let's get into this. So let's talk about this, right? So why should I not get a job?
Look, I think just to clarify, so to kick it off with, do you get a job? Do you not get a job? Do you jump straight into employment? The best bit of advice that I can give, and I said it last time, is that you work yourself out of the job where business tells you, I now need to leave. So I got myself to a point where I had enough, as I explained on our previous podcast. I got to a stage where I had enough of my job. I had enough of the politics, the culture, the workplace bullying, the anxiety people were getting, not sticking up for yourself, no backbone. I had enough of it, and I put myself in a financial position where I could leave, and I left. It's more of a case of understanding that there is so much more to life. So I'll ask you a question, and I'll ask your audience a question. When it comes to employment, you're paid per hour of a certain figure. Why do you settle for that figure? Are you not worth more? So what I would do is I'd ask you now, and for the answer, how much are you worth per hour?
I haven't got a figure on it.
So yeah, exactly. So most people haven't. So people haven't really sat down and gone, actually, where am I in my life to how much I'm worth? So for me right now, I think it's reasonable that I am charging £115 an hour. And that comes through proof of concept. It's not a figure that's been plucked out. It's a figure that's been built through my experience, what I've done and what I am doing now, and the moment that I'm living in. So it's funny because when it comes to, do you get a job or do you start a business? You go get a job, you learn the skills, you adapt, you build a network, you become likable, you become friendly, and you wake up and smell the fact that there's a lot of opportunity and you realize your value. The sooner you can realize your value, the sooner you'll start to go, why am I being paid 11, 12, 13 pound an hour and being spoken to like crap? And when you realize your value, you go, actually, I probably want a little bit more. I always knew that I wanted more.
How do you know what your value is though? Because ultimately, so I go to school, I finish, and they're telling me like this you wanna be okay, cool, doctor, 60K. That's what you're gonna earn. Boom, cool. Oh yeah, 60K. Oh my god, that's amazing. I'm earning 3 times the minimum national average and all. Cool. So now I'm earning 60K. How do I know my real value?
Okay, well, so this is a funny one, right? With the doctor thing. So let's just strip it back to then get to the price tag. When we say university, college, you need all of that because you want to be a doctor or a lawyer. I'm telling you now, anyone watching this, no one came out the womb or got to a certain point in their life and went, I want to be a doctor. You didn't, I didn't. No one wakes up wanting to be a lawyer. And that comes from either family. I guarantee you, if we line 100 doctors up, I guarantee you 75, 80% of them, their families have been doctors. I guarantee it. Lawyer, I guarantee you 80% of them, their family have been a lawyer, parents. So it's more of a case of not falling into the trap of this is how much you're worth and this is what we're willing to pay you. And you go, okay, great. That sounds amazing. Really, if you're able to save someone's life being a doctor, surely you're priceless. Your value is, look, I've just saved this man or woman's life. I want 100 grand. No one else can do what I've just done. But you're one of 30 in a part of a country. So the value is actually a lot higher. It's just that people settle. This is the question that I would ask. How do you really figure out if you could be an entrepreneur? Because some people say, not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone can be. Not everyone's got the gift of the gab. I do disagree to some degree. I think some people have certain roles with entrepreneurship. So, for example, let's just say you had no idea how to sell, or you had no idea how to build a network other than the people that you're hanging around with. I guarantee you hang around me for a week, just a week, you'll learn. Just the same for you. A skill set that you have that I don't have, if I spent a week with you, and I was half savvy and half clued up, I'm going to learn it. So it's not a case of it's only set for certain people. I don't buy into that. I think it's more of a case of conversation before you go into formal education, college and uni. Prevention, how to discuss that with parents. How many people, I tell you what, I'll ask your audience a question and then tell me what you think. People that go to uni, how many of them are willing to actually sit down with their parents and say, I don't actually want to go. I feel like I'm having to go because of you. So this is where this whole stems from. The whole not knowing your value is that you've just gone through the traditional system. You've not added anything to yourself. You've not gained an external skill set. So you have no idea what your value is other than what someone's told you that they're willing to pay. That's it. You haven't really explored how much you could be worth by doing something other than the norm. That's what it is in my eyes.
How do you get confidence in telling your parents to get stuffed and you want to do what you want to do?
I think you have to face reality. Look, I used this quote the other day. I was having a conversation with a friend, and I'll use the example shortly, is that if we go back a little while, and even today actually, most people will quote, get a good trade, be a plumber, be an electrician, be a carpenter, be a builder, get a good trade. No, you must know how to put a shelf up. I haven't got a clue how to put a shelf up, but I know the guy who can put a shelf up. So it's not about finding a trade. But what is interesting and what the skill set you should be looking at, opposed to being a plumber or a carpenter or an electrician, which I'm not saying isn't a bad trade, but I'm saying times are changing, is guess what? The plumber, the plasterer, the carpenter, the electrician, they need a videographer. They need an editor. Why? Because eventually no one is going to know who they are. There's so many self-employed plumbers out there. How can you say that that's the job that's going to keep you safe when no one knows about you? We're going into a world where everyone wants to know you. Everyone wants to look at you. Everyone wants to hear about you. Look at the pool guy on TikTok. He had man in a van cleaning a few pools. No one knew of him. Jumped on TikTok. Boom. 10.5 million followers, 400 million likes, 7-figure business on TikTok, YouTube, and his now pool business, cleaning for Simon Cowell, Stacey Solomon, Louis, whatever his name is. You know, so actually, is it better to be a plumber, a lawyer, solicitor, or is videographer? I bet your man behind the camera here is probably earning quite a good wage. So things have changed. And when you start doing the new skill sets, you realize how much money there is.
But how do you tell your parents, I don't want to be a doctor like you guys want me to be. I want to go and film people wash pools.
Fast proof. You know, so for example, if you want to avoid university, you don't want to go to university, you want to do business, you want to get into entrepreneurship, you don't want to go down the formal route, fast proof of concept, go and do it and let your actions and the money that comes in showcase it. So for example, Mac Edits Official, who's my editor now, full-time editor, every Friday he spends with me, he works for me all week. Within a 7-week period, he's now gone full-time. And I'm not going to say how much he's earning, but he's earning 3 times the amount now that he was at his full-time job. And now he's left. He has to now retain clients, be sustainable, which he will, because he's in the entrepreneurship space. He's got me on his side. He's got other good people on his side. We'll continue providing him work. And the better that he becomes with fast growth, fast learning, he's going to earn a fortune. Proof of concept. He can now turn around to his job and go, I don't need you. Actually, he won't mind me sharing this. At his current job that he was at, they said, oh, we heard you're leaving. And he went, yeah, this got back to me as well. And he said, yeah, I'm being paid more. I'm doing what I want. And they went, well, I bet they don't pay as well as we do. He went, no, I'm earning 3 times as much as you guys were paying me. Because he's got a newfound skill set. So I would say you tell your parents by showing them proof of concept. Go out and do it.
What do you think is the biggest thing that's holding people back then?
Fear. Let me put it like this. Why do people not do things that they want to do? Why do people not leave their jobs? So, for example, the reason you're not leaving your job right now is because you haven't got financial security. That's it. Why don't people talk up in meetings? They don't want to poke their head out the parapet because they're not financially stable enough to pay their mortgage and bills. Why was I comfortable to put my head on the line, put my neck on the line and speak up and say, actually, I don't agree with it. Oh, here we go. Aaron's disagreeing. Yeah, because I'm in a financial comfort. And to the people that say, oh, well, it's all right for you. No, I work my arse off to get myself financially comfortable. So one, people aren't comfortable financially. Secondly, people worry too much. Why won't you leave your job? Because I won't get another job. Rubbish. You're just hell-bent on the title. You've built yourself up for 4 promotions. You're called senior, Mr., Mrs. whatever. You don't like the fact that you might have to go stack shelves. You want the title. Everyone loves a title in the workplace to go to a barbecue and talk about it and brag about it. No one gives a shit. You know, no one cares. That's the problem. They think it's risky. They don't want to lose the job title. And they're not financially comfortable. It's very simple.
Okay. See, here's the thing though. I work very hard, you know? And I like the lifestyle I've got. I want more. And to achieve more, I'm going to need someone to drive me around, bro. I'm going to need a cook. I'm going to need, someone to come and clean my house. So what's the problem? We can't all be entrepreneurs, surely.
Yeah. It's very taboo, isn't it? Money's a great thing, by the way. You know, this will trigger some people. I love money. Money's so good. Money's incredible. It's the vehicle of money. It's the tool of money. I can't get enough of money. I love money. Like, I genuinely love money. Now, there will be some people that watch this thinking, "Oh my God, money's not everything." Happiness isn't created out of money. It's not the physical money itself. It's what it provides. It's the level of comfort. It's the private medical care. It's the ability to say, no, I don't agree with you, and feel comfortable and know that everything's paid for. You know, a friend of mine who made over 180 million, he's done very well in revenue in his business. He's very successful. And I asked him, I said, what has money done for you? Because he's got everything. There's nothing he hasn't got. And it was just that he doesn't have to put up with shit. He doesn't have to put up with shit. You disagree with me? I don't really care. My life continues. Park on double yellows, give me a ticket. I don't care. It's the convenience of getting out of my Rolls Royce, as he does, and goes to a shop. It's the convenience. It's the luxury. It's the vehicle that it provides. And that's the thing, is people get very confused when we talk about money. And for anyone watching, money is a beautiful thing and it does incredible things. But let's not get confused. If you give an arsehole money, you get a bigger arsehole. If you give money, or someone develops money and is very wealthy and they're a nice person, you get a very nice, charitable person who cares, private medical care, family's probably extremely happy. And look, you love money and enjoy money when you've not had money. I've not had money. You've not had money. So when you experience some form of money, money's good. You know, money feels good, money smells good, money does incredible things. So, and then you appreciate it and you value it. I value money down to the penny. Some say every pound is a prisoner. Every penny is a prisoner to me. You know, and you're right. Driver, I have a gardener, cleaner. So all of those things buy me back time. Money buys time. So for anyone watching, money is a great thing.
But the point I was making with that question is to say, those guys are not necessarily entrepreneurs, right? They have to have that job, because otherwise, how do I get to live my life of comfort that I need?
Yeah. Look, to answer it, look, can everyone be an entrepreneur? No, not everyone can be an entrepreneur, because yes, you would get to a state where everyone is an entrepreneur and everyone wants to outsource. However, you can get to a stage, in my opinion, where you can have people where they really enjoy what they do and there are incentives. So I feel like we're going into a world where people can have a little bit more freedom through freelancing and self-employment, by commissions, incentives, earning more money, having a piece of the pie, feeling more equal. So for example, statistically, and a survey was done in the UK, we have nearly 70 million people. It's around about 82% of people who dislike their jobs are adults. So it's something between 38 and 40 million people that are working adults in the UK. And it's around about 80 to 82% of adults that do not like their job. And typically that comes from lack of respect, social anxiety within the workplace. They feel singled out and they're just not being valued or respected. And then there's normally workplace bullying of some sort, which is a real shame, because most people actually quit their managers and the people, not the job. Because you go to a job interview thinking that you're going to enjoy the job, but you quit because of the internal issues. And the problem is people don't know how to escape that. And that's why, yes, we need workers. We need people in the workplace. But I feel there could be a better structure for commissions, incentives, respect, equality, valuing each other. And then you'd have a better overall statistic of, do you enjoy your job?
Well, that's really, really powerful, bro. And what you just said there in terms of, people don't quit the jobs. People quit the managers, or they quit the environment. They're quitting this intangible that you can't see or smell, but you just know. Like when you're in those environments, you just know, like this is toxic. Always on the edge. You spoke about anxiety. People kind of treating you like you're second class just because they're in a senior position and things of that nature. So that's a really, really good point, actually, because when people interview for that job, it's like, I know what I'm going to be doing. I know what the money is, so I'm happy to do this.
Yeah.
But then obviously when you get into it, all those little nuances then really shows you, actually, I can't be here anymore. But what would you say then is, what is going on? What is going on? Because although we talk about, the way the world is in the youth and all of these sort of things, if we also look over the past couple of years, there's starting to be a lot of young people making a lot of money. What's going on?
It's awareness. There's more information out there now, and it's harder to see what's real and what's not. And there's a lot of BS. My advice is, if you're young and you want to make money, don't open up Instagram and perceive what you're seeing as the truth. Dubai first class. It doesn't happen like that. I'm not on my way to Dubai. I'm not in first class. I've got other things. I've got other ventures that I need to tick off first. So there is a fine line between reality and bullshit. And unfortunately, a lot of the marketing bullshit will really suck in a lot of naive, young, influential people. However, yes, there are people making money. Let's just use TikTok for an example. You know, I think the last time I came on here, I might have been at 40,000, something like that. I'm at 191.3 now, I'll be at 200 soon. There's rapid growth to be had with money behind it if you nail it and you are consistent and you find the pockets to work within. So, for example, you know, if you wanted to become a content creator, which was never my plan, it's just become a part of what I do now, is that if you go hard, you go fast, you learn, you adapt really quickly, and you try your best within the means that you have to build out a team that can help you scale fast, there's a lot of money, but positioning is really important. You know, the way we've spoken about this in my group, like the way you position yourself will allow a brand to pay you £1,000+ for a 40-second video. I've done it, you know, it's insane. So you can earn a lot of money. People are really driving affiliate links. You know, let's just use the law of attraction when it comes to the amount of eyes that are watching you. If you have a huge amount of eyes watching you every single week on multiple platforms, and you throw out a little cheeky pound product, you only need 5-10% to buy it, and you're going to make a lot of money. So it's all eyes on you, and that's how you grow fast. How many eyes can you get on you all at one point? And a lot of people are doing that. Young kids are doing some stupid ass things to get a lot of eyes on them, and then they're going, right, I'm gonna open up an affiliate link. I'm gonna drive all my little cronies to the link, and bosh, and they go and buy it. Look what that HS TikTok he did, or whatever his name is. You know, started bringing out a fitness program. He's all over TikTok. He started partnering up with like a Forex company, stuck in his affiliate link where he gets like 50% commission of everyone that buys into it. He's got like hundreds of thousands of loyal, hard tape followers. The guy made an absolute fortune, and probably still is making a fortune.
Wow. Incredible.
So, yeah.
I mean, you've kind of taken us there. That was going to be a question I was going to come up to, but yeah, what do you think of Andrew Tate?
Do you know how many times I've been asked this? What do I think of Andrew Tate? So Aaron Knightley's views on Andrew Tate is 50-50. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree. I think he says a lot of things that are relatable. One of them being, how many people, he said once, he said people are in denial the whole time, especially in relationships. And he turned around and said, men and women, swap phones with your partner for 2 full days. How many of you are going to do it? You're laughing.
I'll do it.
He's laughing. He said a lot of things that a lot of people would go, oh, I'm not doing that. You know, he's addressed a lot of things that people do agree with. But then on the flip side, he said some absurd things. I think what they have done very well is they've brought up a lot of old content over many years, and they've brought it to the forefront. And they've done that as the current Andrew. Look, the guy has been everywhere. I don't know whether he's done half the things or whether he hasn't. But like I say, if it's in terms of his opinion, Andrew Tate has hit the nail on the head on some things. He's not hit the nail on the head on the other things. So look, I'm a 50-50 split. I'm neither here or there with it, because I get asked that all the time.
Now, the reason I ask you is because, you know, I really like a lot of what you're doing. Like, you know, you're really educating people on how they can go out there and take charge and take control. I mean, you are quite provocative, but we're not talking about, you know, Andrew Tate kind of provocative, right? But it's a no bullshit approach. It's like, This is what it is. That's kind of how it is. So that's the only reason I kind of ask you that question, because there is a lot of similarity in the messaging, which is, if you want to change your future, then you've got to take control. You've got to take charge. Nobody's coming to save you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not happening. Like, it's your life. If you want to live the quality of life that most people would want, which is time freedom, you know, do what you want, when you want, with whoever you want, and have the financial stability to do that, then you have to go out and take it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not really going to happen if you are in an environment where someone else is dictating your wages, where someone else is dictating every single day how you feel when you walk into the environment. That only really happens when you become your own boss.
Yeah.
You know, no one can tell you shit, but the offset of that is you have to work bloody hard to be in that position where no one can tell you shit.
Yeah. And a big part of this, right? So that I find there's a defining line. So there's this quote, well, I'm sitting on the fence. Well, sitting on a fence hurts, right? No, who wants to sit on a fence? That's why I say it. You got to choose left or right. You got to jump off on one side or the other. And the grass is green where you water it. So sitting on a fence hurts. Now, when it comes to making some form of success, earning more money, leaving your job, doing whatever it is you want to do, changing you and yours and your family's life, the most important thing is you have to be responsible and accountable. You can't go, oh, well, it didn't work. Abraham, you told me that it was going to work. I was going to work with you and we started and none of it came to fruition. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's nothing to do with me. I don't want anything to do with it. It weren't my fault. So too many people pass the buck. I really struggle. Where my no BS, my realist side of, of who I am, I keep it very black and white. There are so many excuses out there and I struggle. So as soon as someone tells me that they want help, I'm listening. But as soon as they start coming up with excuses, I switch off. I just haven't got time for it because I go back to my journey. I had nothing. I had no money. I had no blessings. I had no rich parents. I just do. Abraham, I'm going to get to 200K. I get to 200K. I'm going to reach 100K on YouTube. I will get to 100K. The breakout program will help hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hopefully ends up being thousands of people. It will happen. It will come to fruition. Not because I'm doing affirmations and I'm sitting there and I'm writing down and, please Lord, bring this to me while I play Call of Duty. No. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to wake up and I'm going to do it. I'm going to make the calls. I'm going to write the emails. I'm going to do it. And I struggle and I switch off when I hear, well, I'm on universal credit. Oh, well, I've got 422 kids. I'm a single parent. Believe me, there are people that have been there and worse and become extremely successful. The blueprint is there. So I have a tough time hearing people say, there's no other jobs out there. I'll find you a fucking job. It's just whether you want that job or not. I haven't got any time. I'll find you fucking time. Let me have a look at your phone. Let me see where your time's being spent on your phone. Oh, no, I don't want you to see that. Oh, right, okay. Because we're addressing the problem. How much do you want to earn? I want to do 6 figures. Okay, great. Absolutely possible. You go to the pub every Friday. What's that about? Well, it's something that I've done for years. Okay, you need to stop. Oh, I can't do that. I'm with the boys. Right, okay. We get to a certain level where we start finding the problems, and a lot of people don't want to because it's comfortable. That's what it is. It's all comfortable. People don't like uncomfort.
Yeah, but nothing grows in the comfort zone, though. Is that what it's saying, right? You have to become uncomfortable actually so you can have a comfortable life. And only when you become comfortable with being uncomfortable, that's when you can really have the breakthrough.
That's where it comes from. Look, when we started peak performance events, there has not been a day where it's been comfortable. Like legit, it's been a tough road. Like it is tough all the time. It's constant marketing. It's constant hustling, and it's knowing, look, if you want to go into business and entrepreneurship, accept what I am about to tell you. Get comfortable with not earning any money for the first 12, 18, 36 months. It's going to happen. You're not going to earn money. That's what defines people. Do you want it to push through where you have to stay in a job to financially protect yourself and pay your bills, but you know that something bigger's on the horizon? Or do you go, oh, well, I watched TikTok and it said it was going to pay me out in 2 weeks and I was going to be earning 6 figures, but, turns out it's not. So fuck that. I'll go back to cleaning. Yeah, exactly. You're not willing to see it through. I am prepared to do whatever it takes. And I know that you are as well. And it's just getting very comfortable with that going, I might not get paid for this. Even starting a podcast. You haven't become a millionaire overnight, have you? Have you?
No, not yet.
It's the truth. So look, podcasting is great. You won't become a millionaire overnight. Could you become a millionaire in 5 years? Absolutely. You could.
100%.
You could. Are you going to stick with it or you're not going to stick with it? Many people go, it's too tough. I'll just carry on stacking the beans.
Okay. So can you tell us how you really feel?
Yeah, so...
Okay, cool. What is peak performance events?
Look, we started Peak Performance Events. Just a quick one on this. Look, we started Peak Performance Events, which is a networking events company, to try and allow people from all walks of background to come into a room where there are going to be real high caliber speakers. But the bigger message is that we're providing a room where anyone, like we invite anyone. You've been in the rooms, like, we have youngsters, we have every type of diversified background on the go. And it's about coming in and learning and collaborating with like-minded people in a very different and unique way, opposed to curtains and carpets, as I call it. So again, come on your own, be uncomfortable, go into a room that you're forced to talk to people. One of my biggest networking tips is go on your own to a networking event in the central heart of London, be uncomfortable and talk to some people who have done some incredible things in entrepreneurship and business. Because believe it or not, really rich people are actually really nice. They're not arseholes, they're really nice. Majority of them. And it can open up so many doors. So that's why we started Peak Performance, is to allow everyone to learn and to realise there is a lot more to what I'm already doing. Like, there's a lot to life. All I have to do is listen, learn, and then go stick some action behind it. I might do something pretty good for myself and my family.
Yeah, it's powerful. Like those events are pretty special. You do definitely get a lot of people into the room, and there's high level, of knowledge that's been shared in there. So yeah, I'll definitely encourage anyone to get in there. But like, what do you think for someone who's starting off in the journey, or they're thinking of getting into entrepreneurship? What do you think of the power of networking?
Well, it's everything. Anyone watching, you want to get into business, you want to make more money, you want to get into entrepreneurship. Networking is your first starting point. But actually, do you know what? Just before the networking, just before meeting new people, earning more money, living a happier life, going into entrepreneurship and business, out with the old, in with the new. If you're hanging around with time wasters, people who have got no ambition, no aspirations, talking in some ridiculous slang, they're just crude all the time, they're hanging around with dossers, that no one's got any ambition, you have to say, look, I've known these kids since I was young, but they're not going anywhere. I need to cut the ties. I need fresh blood coming in, fresh ambitious blood who I can learn from and that are always 2-3 steps ahead of me. What's the point in hanging around with people and networking with people that they don't want to go anywhere? They just want to go down the pub and, get with birds and guys and stuff like that. There's no growth.
What if I don't want to leave my friends behind, though?
If you don't want to leave your friends behind, then get comfortable not going anywhere. Simple as that. I don't think there's a middle ground. I left people behind. I've recently cut off an immediate family member of mine. And the reason I did that is because I've had enough of the bullshit. I've had enough of the external toxic vibes that are constantly being thrown my way. Immediate family. Goodbye. Ta-ta. No skin off my nose. It was a decision I had to make. I haven't lost sleep over it because I'm not saying that it could never be amended, but right now in the immediate, it's not to be had in my life. So I think that's a decision for people to make, is that do you want more in a world that, let's face it, is becoming pretty hard. I mean, we're in a world now where everyone's going, cost of living's going up, gas and electric's going up, it's becoming tougher. Universal credit isn't as much now, feeling the pinch. Do you do that, or do you go, I'm going to pull my fucking finger out and I'm going to change my life? And I don't care if it kills me. Because otherwise, what else have you got? What else have you got? Especially if you've got children. You know what it's like. If you've got children and you're not changing your life and you're not breaking the mold and you haven't attempted at all to turn your life around, my question is, what the hell are you doing?
Selfish.
I do think it's selfish. Like, that's strong. If you have children and you are struggling financially, I guarantee you there's excuses that sit on the tip of the tongue to why they're not changing their life. I haven't got time. You do have time. Take your children with you. Get someone to babysit. Well, I can't afford it. Okay, look for an alternative. Look for something that you can do at home whilst the child is asleep and you stay up all night. Oh, well, I'll be tired. Oh, here we go. That's what I mean. It comes down to excuses. So, I talk very passionately about it because I have lived through it to a high extent, as many other people who have that have turned their life around. But I said it last time on your podcast, to this very day, I still sleep between 4 and 5.5 hours a day. I'm good to go. It's been a long day today. And what? Who am I going to complain to? You? You don't care. You don't care. No one cares. Your man don't care. No one's bothered. So why am I going to complain? 50 Cent said it perfectly. When he said, oh, have you found life with basically having no one in your life? Have you pushed through? And he's like, well, who am I going to go home and moan to? No one's there. Everyone's dead. I have no one in my corner. Who am I going to go home? He said, who am I going to go home to? Moan at myself in the mirror. Who are you going to moan? No one cares. Get on with it.
Wow. So powerful, bro. And that's the truth. There's this, I think the Instagram live definitely plays a big part of it, like what you mentioned, because people make these things look really, really easy. But there's this understanding. It happens within the property space a lot. I always talk about, I think I did some content the other day talking about property is one of the only businesses that I know that people come into but don't treat it like a business. It's almost like they treat the property business like a side hustle. I'm like, this is the main gig. This is the main meal. This is the steak and chips. Like, this is not a side gig, right? Like, you can't come into this as a side gig. You have to treat this as a business. But because of the way it's sold generally within the industry, passive income, you come in 3 months, 10 grand, life is good. People kind of come in with this warped idea. But it's like, if you're going to do something, nothing good is going to be easy. If it's easy, it's not going to be good, because then anyone can do it. Low barrier to entry. There's no money in it. No one's interested, right? But if it's something that's worth it, something that's going to give you a good return, there's going to be less people who can do it, which makes it more valuable because you've pushed through that barrier, and that's where your worth is.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. And this is another thing that ties in quite nicely. Why do people have midlife crisis? Which actually really now starts in some people's lives at 20. People aren't having midlife crises at 40. It's now 20. And the reason is because there's this high expectation. By 21, 22, you need to have been extremely successful, extremely wealthy. If you're a woman, you need a size 8 waist, big bum, big boobs. If you're a guy, tiny waist, rip abs, massive quads. And, that's not real life. It's not real life. Life is pretty tough from what I've found out. Life is probably one of the best teachers as well. It tends to keep battering you until you listen. Most people complain about life, but actually it's probably trying to tell you something. Try and listen. If something keeps going wrong, it's probably something you can counter and stop doing in order for life to go, now you've learned. Now we can move forward together. But midlife crisis stems from, in my eyes, bitterness, regret, jealousy, because jealousy stems from a place of, I want something that someone else has. I'm not jealous of you. I'm happy for you. The other thing is learn to be happy. If you're happy for other people, you're never going to become bitter. Like, I wish you all the success in the world. And as you know, you're in my group. I support you all the way. I'm never going to be jealous, because that means you have something that I don't, that I want, which leaves a negative feeling. Midlife crisis truly is someone who has got to a stage of their life and is thinking, I should have done more. I could have done more, but I didn't. I didn't take the risk because the risk was bigger than me, because I listened to too many people. There was too much judgment. I was comparing myself. What if I fail? One of the biggest killers for entrepreneurs and new business owners is never putting your hand up and saying, actually, I need help. This is a pretty hard game. People leave their job. They start a business. They've told everyone their big plans. I'm going to do this. I'm going to sell these deals. I'm going to make this money. I'm going to sell this product. Starts coming up against hard times. They start going into a shell. They don't tell anyone. And then they're like, I wonder if I can slip under the radar. Then they lose confidence, low self-esteem, and then they're back in a job. All you needed to do was put your hand up. And in the entrepreneurial space, you can get a lot of help. Look, just ask me. It takes a bold person to put their hand up and say, I need help. This is tough. Like, I really have big plans, but I've bitten off more than I can chew. Can you help me through this? If you rang me and said, Aaron, I need some fucking help, and it came out of the blue, what do you think I would say? If say you rang me in the evening, do you think I'd just say, Abraham, can't talk right now?
Nah, I think if you picked up, you would spend some time and
absolutely, absolutely. And there are a lot of people out there. I've been very blessed that I've been able to pick the phone up. Last year, I lost a lot of money last year, and I was able to pick the phone up to several people and say, do you mind if we have a catch up? Really wealthy people who have done very well, and they reignited my fire. You can't do that in employment. These are the differences. Entrepreneurial world, employment. backstabbing, steal people's ideas, anxiety, bullying, negative, whispering, toxic environment, change on people, snakes. Can't really trust too many people. That's the fact. It sounds daunting. You know, you can live a humble life in employment. Entrepreneurship, very helpful. Piece of the pie for everyone. Try and help people grow. But then there will be people that will say, but it is dog eat dog. Abso-fucking-lutely. But if we don't like each other, guess what the difference is? If we were unemployed, we have to turn up. We have to look at each other. If in entrepreneurship, I don't have to ever see you again if I don't want to. So that's the blessing. So it's all for the taking. There's a lot of money on the table. There's a lot of possibility, but people really need to take accountability.
Do you think, though, the reason of that fear is the fear of failure? Because the way failure is perceived in society at large, within entrepreneurship, I think, you know, we understand now because, you know, we get all these, you know, these motivational speakers and we get all these, you know, world-renowned inspirational speakers, people like Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, and, you know, the way we understand failure is very, very different. We understand that failure is a part of the journey. Like, actually, the most successful people are the ones who have failed the most. You can't succeed unless you fail. It's impossible. Like, it's impossible. Show me any successful person that hasn't failed more times than the next person. But the way, you know, failure is perceived as at large is the reason why someone would be suffering. They won't say anything. They'll go into the show, and then before you know it, you know, they're gone because of that fear of failure. So, you know, what's your perception on the way that we view failure?
So you've hit the nail on the head. Failure will destroy people and it will wipe them out the game. If they get rejected or something doesn't work, some people don't bounce back. So bounce back time is really important to learn how quick you can bounce back. And that comes through developing thick skin, failing a lot of times, but still staying in the game, being able to stay in the game and learn, okay, it's like a process. You know, it's like, I imagine it like this. You know, when you go in an arcade, business is just like this. You go in an arcade, you put your pound in and you've got the arm. Your perfect pickup, drops it. You're like, what? Hang on a minute. I grabbed it by the nut. You know, I got it. And it drops it. You go again. It's a numbers game. And by the 12th pickup, it's grabbed it. Boom. Then you get your prize. So you learn there's a pattern. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. And typically there's more downs than there are ups. But I think what you learn along the way is your ruthlessness to get back on the horse, your bounce back time. Hey, look, we've got a product for you, yada, yada, yada. Would love it if you're, no, not interested. Cool. You know, there's not a lot of people that keep going, picking up that phone, keep making the sale with the same energy. But you learn it's a numbers game. If you ask 100 people, 5 will say yes. You've got to get through 95 no's, but the 5 will make you a lot of money. And then you nurture the 5. So I think, yes, the failure knock people out the game, but it's the ability to just ask for help. When you start in business, you'll be extremely successful in my eyes if you ask for help along the way. It goes so far just to say, this is pretty tough, actually. I love it. It's rewarding. It's fulfilling, but it's tough. I may need some guidance and help. And that's all it is. And that's where I feel people can build up their confidence, build their self-esteem again, and realize they're not alone. Because that's the other thing. I think people go into a show and think, I'm on my own. I remember leaving employment and thinking, fucking hell, got no one to have banter with. All right, you know, I speak to a lot of people. We don't really speak to a lot of people, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, it's understanding that failure is just a bit of a pattern and you get used to it. That's all it is.
How do you find the right people then to ask for help?
Networking is key for finding the right people. The ability to smell the bullshit earlier rather than later. You'll go through a stage where, and I did when I was around 21, 22, where I was smelling a lot of bullshit. And I you know, some of it I was buying into. And then I realized that you have a real good radar for smelling crap. So once you get your indicators, which is typically your gut, some telltale signs, you remember those. And then you're very aware when people are talking. So I tend to, if I'm meeting new people, I really listen to what they're saying. And I'll always look for maybe like proof of concept. I think you can't deny proof of concept, the way that they talk, the people that they hang around with as well. And it's a learning game. It's like, how do you find the right people? There's no magical answer. You just you start putting yourself out there and talking with new people. Social media is a great way to do that, but also it can really clusterfuck you, especially if you're young and naive. Oh, he's got a Rolex. Oh, he's got that. Look at that Paul Smith tailored suit. This is my guy. It's not your guy. Your guy might be the guy in the denim shorts who's pretty tatty, but he's made a lot of money and he's a really nice guy. So it's very hard to tell. I think, again, you go through a process.
Makes sense. What do you think is the power of your personal relationship in your business? Like your relationship with your partners? Like what value do you give that?
Massive. I think we're in a world, touching on relationships, we are in a world now where it's deemed that to be successful, you have to be on your own and you have to drive your own ambition to a certain point. And then when someone comes into your life, you evaluate if their values are the same as you. That's not realistic. So you have to give credit to, if you are with someone and they're supporting you on something that is seen as quite bold, maybe a little bit risky, a little bit out there, there is a huge part on that person. They may not be doing the venture day in, day out, but the fact that they're there behind you, supporting you, is a huge thing. So if you are in a relationship, it takes two to tango to make a business work. It's not all down to one person. Someone's holding the fort. Someone's out there doing it. Both are as hard as each other. One might have a longer day than the other person, but holding down a house or a family and whatever is still a tough game while someone goes off and plays a venture, essentially, until it works. So I think we need to get out of the mindset that it's all this single life, make loads of money, and then we choose our partners and we make sure that they're aligned and that they fill out this checkbox. I don't think that's realistic. I don't think it ever has been. I don't think it ever will be. And I do think relationships will struggle in the very near future. If not, they are now.
Why is that?
I think people want the perfect image. When people are choosing partners, I still find it nuts in the dating scene that you can swipe on an app to find the right criteria for someone that you may or may not like.
Yeah. I think me and you, we missed out on that whole lifestyle. I've been 12 years.
12.
Yeah, 12. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so we kind of bypassed all that nonsense. Yeah, I find it is a little. But look. Maybe we're just sounding old, mate, because actually a lot of that's what some people have grown up with.
Possibly, but I do actually, to throw a flip on it, if you are wanting to be really successful and make a lot of money, my best advice then is this: stay at home for as long as you can with your parents. Don't get in a serious relationship if you're in your late teens, early 20s. Graft every single day, hustle, learn as much as you can, focus on you, be a really nice person, network like crazy, look after your money, and educate every single solitary day, and have good boundaries and foundations, and learn to ignore the noise of this whole, for the women sitting there on TikTok with their boobs out, with the nipples poking through and everything like this, and trying to get this false validation. And same with the men with their tops off, with the abs, and doing workouts with their tops off and stuff like this. Avoid that, block it out, and go into monk mode. Then you'll do very well. And hopefully when a partner comes along, you'll treat them with respect. That's a good way of approaching success. And then you share the success.
What do you say to the men then? Because this is something that I'm not really plugged into that world, to be honest, but this is something that I've heard on a couple of podcasts that apparently, men are now struggling because what's happened with the whole social media and obviously the apps now is women are like, I'm not just confined to the men in my locality. Actually, there is this whole wide world. I can go out there, I can look for all these other opportunities. So, to those guys, for example, how difficult is it for them, first of all, to actually get into a relationship? And secondly, does it really matter?
From a man's perspective, and from what I see, I think it's damaging for men at the moment to just be watching women on TikTok sit on the edge of their beds in lingerie and just giving them compliments. Vice versa, I think it's damaging for women to just watch men with their tops off working out on TikTok and giving them compliments, and there's this whole false validation. It's not real. They're never going to meet. It's very unlikely. And if they do meet, only one thing's going to happen. So I think it's damaging, and I think it's making people numb. I think it's probably going to be affecting people sexually when it actually comes to doing the deed, because they've been so stimulated by a fake world. And I think that's where people are thinking that there's too many options available. For example, you can grow very quick on socials, which gives this validation of I'm Mr. or Mrs. Big Shot. That's very damaging. The other thing that I'm pretty worried about, I'm concerned for kids who are in secondary school that have got large followings, and that it's going to their head thinking I'm much better than all these other kids because I've got 40,000 followers. So when we were at school, it was Mr. and Mrs. Popular, just because within the school they were quite popular and you had your divides. But now it's a case of, well, I'm so much more important than you because I have 40,000 followers. A lot of them want me sexually, and everyone fancies me, and I'm getting all these compliments. So you don't even deserve to talk to me because you're not on my level. What have you got, like 200 followers? Who are you? That's really dangerous.
That is really dangerous. That is really dangerous. You said one of your concerns. What is your biggest concern right now?
I would say my biggest concern is, in a world where people are really struggling with mental health, I feel it's becoming too common where people aren't in a position. Look, there's two parts to this. My main concern about the world now is where people are struggling financially. It's causing more issues in the workplace where people are now being cornered not to say a word because cost of living, people are feeling the pinch and not able to support themselves and their family. And the workplace in bigger corporations are becoming stricter, more whip cracking. Therefore, anxiety is going through the roof, mental health issues, bullying, harassment, whatever it might be. So people are almost feeling they have nowhere to go. I was on a joint live the other day and some people shared, I was collaborating with Rebecca P. Fox, and someone said, I feel trapped and I don't know where to go. I'm in a job that I'm suffering with bullying at the moment, and I've got real low self-esteem and I don't have the confidence to go anywhere else, but I'm stuck there. You're not stuck. You can leave, but they feel like they can't. That is a massive problem at the moment. Like loss of confidence and low self-esteem is becoming the norm. And earlier and earlier and earlier. 19 years old? Why are you suffering from it at 19 years old? I don't know.
Yeah, well, you could literally just live and go and well, just not work and just spend time at home with family, because at that age is still acceptable. But what is the alternative? Because as you said, there's a cost of living crisis. You know, energy bills are going up. All of these things are going up. So if someone is in a job right now where, you know, they feel like they've been bullied, they've got anxiety, maybe they feel underpaid, there's a lot of pressure in that role, you know, what is the alternative for that person realistically? Because if they leave, what's the option? They've got bills to pay.
Absolutely. So I think it comes down to the type of person you are. You're either a person that when your back's up against the wall, you pull it out of the bag and you do something. I think there is a big difference between people who have kids and people who don't have kids. You have a big reason why. I think the message there to tap into is, what is actually the reason why? Is it your mental health is at an all-time low, which therefore tapping into a reason why may not be something you can really do at the moment. You know, but by the way, this is well above my pay grade, but you know, if you're not in a mentally good place, it's very hard, I imagine, to get out of that. You know, thankfully, I've never suffered from anxiety or mental health issues or anything like that, depression. But I can only imagine it's really tough to get yourself out of a situation. However you can, and I would say that you need good people around you. You need uplifting people who keep saying, you got this. Honestly, stick with it, one step at a time. Keep moving forward. You need those types of people. And learning is underestimated. Revitalizing your brain by education and inspiring things and positive news is great. I would also say we need to switch off the news. Don't listen to the news. Don't listen to the radio. And today on BBC, we have another murder, mass murder. You know, the current climate at the moment means that people are going to feel the pinch by another 5% on the more. Who wants to hear that day in, day out? Do you know, during the pandemic, when they were telling everyone to stay in, bugger that, I'm going out. I'm going to stay mentally sane. I'm not listening to everything that the news tells me to do. It's nuts. there's this big argument. And if you want to quickly cover it off, baby boomers, we must listen to the news. Why? They lie. Is it not time that we found out our own information?
I think that ship is sailed. I think there's still a delusion from this generation that if we actually did a poll on how many of us believe mainstream media, I think it's been done, but I don't know the data on that. But if I'm not mistaken, I think the data was something very low, like 17% or something crazy like that. Actually believe mainstream media. A lot of people now of this generation and lower are getting the information from alternative sources of media, like podcasts and things like this. This is where people are actually getting real information from. I was just watching this morning before I came here. Robert Kennedy he's actually put his hat in to run for president of America now. But he's done one town hall with Fox News. But outside of that, he's just been Joe Rogan podcast, this podcast, that podcast. Like, these are educated public who are watching, going, okay, cool, let me see if this guy's someone I want to vote for. That's the new campaign trail.
It is. But you know what's really concerning? Like, that we're so aware of things, but nothing is done. So going back to what's my biggest worry about the world right now? The fact that we know that ministers, MPs, all these politicians have been benefiting from millions upon millions, especially through the pandemic, and still nothing's done about it. They're having house parties, they're having this, they're doing that. It's all coming to light. We're all aware of it and nothing happens. So, but yet people are chased for 2, 4, 5,000, 10,000 pounds in tax. Everyone's got to make their payments, but yet we're fully aware that people have been rinsing millions. Look what's happening with Tesco's, Sainsbury's. Look what's going on in the Cayman Islands, all these headquarters. Could we speak to Tesco's? Could we speak to Facebook, Nike? It just can't answer that. It's the pivot, as they call it, the MP pivot. And that's what frustrates me, along with millions of other people, is like, we know it.
That is so true. And that's, that is the scariest thing out there right now. In all honesty, because what really baffled me about the whole situation is, like, hang on, so we've had COVID. There were some of us who was going, this just doesn't seem right. This is nonsense. I'm trying to listen to podcasts of someone giving an alternative opinion who's a qualified medical doctor. Like, they've got all the flowers. Years before, you guys were painting this person as the expert. This person is now saying, you guys, like, this is wrong information. This is not good. Don't follow this. Now, he's getting banned. He's getting cancelled. Hang on, you told me this guy was an expert. So just because now his narrative doesn't go with yours, all of a sudden, he's no longer an expert. He's not a conspiracy theorist. And those of us who believed some of these things that sounded reasonable, we were painted as conspiracy theorists. But that's cool. That's fine. The problem is, and this is the biggest problem, like you said, now that we know that's not true, the fact that we're all just carrying on, like nothing ever happened. We now know for a fact that all of this stuff was all nonsense. But we all just move on with our life. That's really scary.
Well, it's like, why did they kill Colonel Gaddafi? Because he was a terrorist.
Yeah.
No, he was about to bring together an African nation digital currency, which was about to overthrow the dollar, the euro, the yen, and was a country that was physically backed by actual assets in the ground, in the farms, in the mountains. A country that was physically backed by the money that it could provide. That don't happen in UK or US. Could I withdraw £100,000 of my money that's in my bank on my screen? We don't have it. They wouldn't say that. They'd say, oh, you need to go to headquarters and you need to sign for it and there's all these hoops you've got to jump through. But ultimately, if 10 of us went to our local NatWest bank and said we want to withdraw £100,000 in cash, because I just want to store it under my bed because I can, because it's my money, you'd be asked a million questions and they'd say, sorry, we don't have the money. Because we are in overload of print of money backed by no physical asset, as the US, as the UK, majority China. But Colonel Gaddafi was about to bring together this digital currency, which would have been an absolute powerhouse. So what we need to do, terrorist. That country was running fine.
It was running fine, and on top of that, the things that they tried to put on him and get him to do, he said, "Yeah, cool, no problem." So he was actually invaded. I didn't actually know this, but again, listen to Robert Kennedy because have you listened to him?
A little bit.
He's incredible. He actually touched on this one of the podcasts. I mean, I've literally been consuming a lot of his content the last couple of days. But he touched on this topic, and they said, Gaddafi actually acquiesced to all the demands that were made. So we know why they went in.
Yeah.
But the point is, in the public, like, we're making all this demand. Okay, cool, that's fine. Yeah, now we're coming in anyway. Yeah.
Well, it's like what America does very well. When the line at 9/11, what was 9/11 by terrorists? Come on. But what they do very well in America is they bring out a film straight away. They brought out Flight 94.
Fahrenheit. What was that? Something Fahrenheit.
Yeah, well, Flight 94 to bring out, the fight against the terrorists on the plane. Look at the Gulf War, Gulf 1. What did they bring out straight after? Jarhead. Why were they burning all the oil? To block the view of the Lynx helicopters and the Apaches. No, they were burning the oil because they were trying to burn all their oil so it wasn't taken. So, but the Americans are very good at getting very patriotic about it. So that's what I mean. You smell the bullshit, not only in real life, but in business as well. One thing I want to say, actually, as a fellow podcast host, this is something that is getting on my gripe that I really want to address, and I'd love to hear what you think. Do not watch podcasters who are bringing on criminals talking about horrific crimes and promoting it. So you youngsters and anyone that watches it thinking, wow, so if I end up going into a gang and I do all these horrific crimes just one day I'm going to be on a podcast talking about it and I'm going to get hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah.
I can tell my story. Don't watch those podcasts.
It's tough. I've heard you talk about it. I think it depends on the podcast host, the intentions behind why they bring. So for example, when I bring an entrepreneurs on here, right? We haven't spoken about how much money you made. We haven't spoken about all of this. So, so the conversation is going to, and depends on that person. Are they rehabilitated? Do you know what I'm saying? Is this someone who's gone from, they've been to prison, they've done all this stuff, they're wearing gangs, but now they've kind of come out of it and now look at where they are. So I think it depends on the narrative of the podcast. But if you're there talking about all these gory crimes they committed and all of that, it's not acceptable.
And that's what there is. And I've watched a lot of them. And I've seen the podcast hosts laugh when they're telling the gory parts, and they're joking about it, and they're talking about the feel of when it went in. They're what happened during that gory attack, and the feel of it, and how it felt going in and pulling it out, and then but then
why is YouTube not banning that when they're banning stuff about scientific facts? Why are they not banning that stuff?
It's a great question. Is it views? Is it because it's generating? I don't know. It can only be generating AdSense. There's no sponsor that's going to go, hey, we're JD Sports. We want to sponsor you because you're bringing on people. So I don't know why they're not limiting what people can see, and it is concerning. And I think that's the other thing. Watching these people talk about how they've done horrific crimes sitting on a podcast with not much context to really how they've rehabilitated. You see that more with ex-mafia members. But they don't. Have you noticed with mafia members, they don't always talk about what they've done. They talk about how much money they were making, trafficking.
Exactly.
They've done some things. They never say too much. But some of these newer podcasts, it's all about the gore. Tell us the gore because we know it's going to get views. Yeah. The shock. There's no message for a youngster to think, so if I do take a knife into school, and I do that, I might serve a bit of time, but I've got one hell of a fucking story to tell on a podcast one day. It's not a message I want my son to be seeing. I know that for sure.
I agree with that, mate. Well, on that cheery note, well, honestly, bro, it's been absolutely incredible. And like this time, I really just wanted to talk about ideas with you because I've been listening to a lot of your content and a lot of that. There's everything that you're talking about, right? There's things that I completely agree with. So I really wanted to bring that information on here and share it with our audience because I think there's a lot to learn from what you're saying. But we do always end with a final question, and I didn't start it because we've got two normally, but we've already done that. We've already done those two. But this question still remains for you. The final question still does remain because
where is the dentist?
That's an internal joke. But bro, like I said at the start, you've gone out there and you've gone bang, 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 bang with everything we spoke about last time. What remains your need to succeed?
I just always to have time freedom. That's all it is. Just to do stuff like this. Just to sit here with you on a what we on a Wednesday, it's 3:10 to do this, to go and have lunch, to make sure everyone's taken care of. Just time freedom. I'm not bothered about ultimate financial freedom. I think the goalpost always moves. I don't know, you're going to get to a goalpost and you want more, but time freedom, I don't think you can get. You're never going to get to a point where you go, I want so much more time. Once you get 22 hours back in a day, you've got your time to always sustain my time freedom. Not about how much money I make, but make sure that every day I live on my terms. That's what it is.
Amazing, bro. Aaron Knightley,
Dude.
thank you very much.
No, thank you, mate.